Hello and welcome to the Drop-In. Today we're going to talk to two of the organizers of the music festival State of the Art, which is taking place in October, correct?
Yes.
And you guys have been gearing up for this now, organizing the whole thing, getting the lineup together, and well, quite interesting and hard to explain events of sorts.
Yeah, it's a Sunday. We took the producers of this festival into the audience, begged them to come into the office to help us give context for this fascinating festival. And the dates of this festival for State of the Art this year are, just to recap,
October 7th to the 12th.
October 7th to the 12th. I think it's the most amazing festival I've seen in 20 years of looking at festivals, but also possibly one of the most difficult for us as writers to convey. And I just thought, I mean, we have a fabulous music writer named Ish working on a feature about this festival, but I wanted to get you in to help us give context and explain with us why this is, in my opinion, the future of communicating art in Iceland. In my opinion. Now, I understand there are other festivals out there, but this is deeply exciting to me. So, real quickly, your names, and then we'll jump into the background of this festival. I know this is the second year for the State of the Art Festival, and yeah, I just can't wait to get into the current lineup because it's amazing. But everything requires explanation.
Right. Yeah, I'm Bergur.
And I'm Magnús Jóhann. And we created State of the Art Festival with our friends Sverrir Páll and Bjarni Frímann last year because we felt that the current landscape needed something new, needed a place to kind of invite some sort of cross-genre collaborations and like a platform for trying at least to do something fresh, with both classical music and jazz, because that's kind of, among other things, our background. And, bringing into the fray, this sort of fresh contemporary mentality of pop music and hip-hop artists that are like fresh and popular, and kind of mixing that with a classical piano recital in a car garage and trying to like hook people in and that want to see Flóni maybe, and then they see like, I've never been to a piano concert in my life. Why not go to a very strange one at the car garage or something, and kind of trying to eliminate these sorts of difficult connotations that some people tend to associate with classical music or jazz or whatever.
I think we sort of realized that we are really stuck and integrated in this bubble of finding it really normal to go to the concert hall, to go to a concert.
Yeah,
and we realized that that's not a reality for a lot of people our age, especially. They maybe don't even know how to behave going to a symphony concert or whatever. So we figured, why not try to put this kind of music in a really different context, so it just feels more welcoming.
Yeah, because you weren't saying hypothetically putting a piano concert in a garage. You're actually doing this.
Yeah, well, we did that last year, but we're doing some weird things this year. That's all. Yeah.
Baroque at the Club.
Baroque at the Club. Yes. Yeah, that's one of the things we're doing. Yeah.
So Baroque at the Club. Can we define that?
Yeah, please. It sounds great, but what does it mean?
Yeah, it's like you say. A lot of the curation and the events we do, they tend to need explaining, which is also tricky marketing wise, because like there's so many exciting things, and then you have to like list what everything is, but like you say, Baroque at the Club was the original idea was Baroque soap disco, right?
Yeah, like a foam disco. But then we realized that would probably not be very
functional in Iceland in October. But one of our organizers really pushed for that idea, but we landed with Baroque at the Club, and we did that last year, and it went really great. It was at Auto, the nightclub here in Reykjavík.
Yeah.
And what that is that's kind of also, I would say that's very representative of our motto with the festival, is that we don't take ourselves too seriously, We're just having fun with it, even though we're not fooling around. Do you know what I mean? We're being
artistically serious.
Yes, we're being artistically serious and making statements that we stick to, but that doesn't mean that you can't have a little fun with it, you know.
And I think, I mean, just to explain to listeners, viewers, baroque music is basically music from, the period of Bach and Vivaldi, and this kind of music is usually only performed in a context where there are only old people, and people are maybe playing like period instruments, and it's all very niche. And so we're taking that, and originally it's dance music. It's written for the kings of Europe, basically as dance and party music,
Written for the clubs of old.
Yeah. So we are basically taking it into that context, and we put everybody in a period costume, but they're not playing period instruments, and then we put some beats on top and turn it into, just to show people that actually it's great party music. I mean, we are still the same species, so it still works.
So in a way, it's kind of a silly like blend. We're doing, club techno beats, whatever, and we're performing this music in costumes with the fog machines and the lights at the nightclub and everything. And at first you're like, wait, this is kind of silly and funny. And I mean, I guess in a way the whole concert is like that. But like you get into it and you're like actually dancing at the club to Vivaldi, like an A minor concerto by Bach with like,
yeah,
it's really silly and fun. Yeah.
Waiting for the Vivaldi to drop.
And the funny thing is, with a lot of the music and the like baroque concertos, you have very like powerful melodic and rhythmic motifs, and when you put it into this context of building up to a drop, and then you get the four on the floor, you're like, wait, these are actually bangers.
Yeah,
seriously,
these are bangers.
Yeah.
I agree totally.
Yeah.
Speaking of dressing up for this, are you guys going like full baroque in your dress, or are you dressing up as something else?
No, I mean, yes,
we have
fully period correct.
We have costumes from the opera, actually, and then the wigs and the makeup, white makeup and everything. Yeah.
You're gonna be like.
That's enough to sell the entire festival.
So you're gonna look like. Awesome. I know it's not the right period, but you're gonna look like extras in like the Mozart movie or something.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my god.
And that's also because we call it baroque at the club, and we're doing mostly baroque music. But for, I'd say, most people that don't think about classical music at all, they have no idea what baroque even means, So in a marketing way, I guess it would be easier to call it classical at the club, but we're sticking to our guns.
Yeah. Baroque is way better.
Yeah.
It sounds much better. Much funnier, too.
Yeah.
So, sorry. That's one thing. The other thing I noticed in the schedule that caught my fancy is that you're kind of having a songwriting exercise going on, both for, let's call them folk musicians for all intents or like singer-songwriters, and for sort of classical writers. And then you're having, Múgisson write a song, and then you have like, I don't know, Jón Jónsson or whoever performing it, and there's no help from the writer. And you're diving into like, what comes... What are the influences actually, like from the writer, and what happens if you do these sort of in short succession and you don't allow the writer to actually intervene at all? It's it's a fascinating thing, but it's also one of those things that you would not, or in my case, even couldn't imagine as a live performance. How did you get to that thing? Where does that come from?
I think it was born last year because it's basically a little bit of a protest, because we feel that there is not enough opportunities for classical composers. That's where it started, to write new music. There's no commissions really going on here in Iceland, or maybe not anywhere in the world. So we decided to create this event where we had 6 classical composers last year who wrote for each other. So
Composers Carousel.
Yeah, the Composers Carousel. So one composer would write a piece for the next one, who would perform it on his instrument of choice, and then he would write for the next one that went in a circle. And that went really well. And we, had 6 new pieces of classical music, commissioned by the festival, which was a great success. So this year we are repeating that with classical music, but we thought, why not also do that with pop music? And it's it's Magnús's idea, and he has worked with basically all of these pop musicians. So
I could force them. There's a feint.
But it's really exciting to see what happens when one singer-songwriter writes for another, and we still don't know what's going to happen. But they write the songs, but
exactly, yeah. Because for me, like my definition of a singer-songwriter is like a person that writes and performs their own music. Most of the time, they maybe perform on a guitar or piano. Like they would preferably be able to perform their song by themselves on some sort of instrument. And what we're investigating is like, how do you position yourself when I'm not writing music for myself like I usually do. I'm going to write a song for Bergur. Like, do I think of his voice and the story he has to tell, or do I just write a song and give it to him? And then it's up to Bergur to kind of put his mark on the song. Does he perform the song on piano, on guitar with the band? What's the arrangement like? How does he twist and turn the song around? Because performers can put such a mark on a song, with their take on it, even if they don't write it, and it kind of blurs the lines, of course, between writing and performing, and that whole sort of thing, that where does the songwriting actually lie? Is it part of is performing it? Can you put that much of a mark on a song by your take on it, that you are writing the song with somebody else or not, or is it all clear cut? I don't know. And that's what's so fun about this, is that some people have told me that I'm a bit nervous about writing because I'm writing for this guy. I don't know how to approach it, and that's exactly what we wanted it to be. Like, and I'm gonna ask every performer, like, okay, so what do you think of the song? How did you approach this? Was this easy? Were you in contact with the other person that you were writing for, and etc.?
And we're very curious also what happens to the songs after the festival. If the composers are going to be performing them, or the person they were composed for, or maybe both, or maybe none. It's very curious what happens.
And I mean, it's an amazing roster of writers and performers. We have some of the biggest names in pop music participating: Bríet, Gediran, Una Torfa, Elín Hall, Kauká, Jón Jónsson, Múkisson, and Bjarni Daniel.
Yeah.
I think it speaks to your incredible ability to convince and or coerce people to actually get them into doing something like this. Because I would, I'm not a singer-songwriter. You write songs, but I'd imagine it would be a terrifying experience, because you're really pushing people out of whatever comfort zones they have and kind of forcing them to do it publicly, which is terrifying. But the nice aspect of it is that such pressure or situation often creates something completely new.
Yeah.
Which is, it's a hit and miss thing, but it's very interesting. So there's no question in this.
I might have a unique perspective because I've done a
bring it on
project.
It's fascinating. Sorry.
Magnús obviously is a well-trained and skilled musician, and you're probably the musician that singer-songwriters kind of lean on to help with the musical arrangements and dealing with musicians. And I have that background of being the singer-songwriter, working with musicians usually, or having to use my own rudimentary knowledge. But I had been involved in a Ball of Wax, a Seattle-based collaborative where we did a similar project. And when you're a singer-songwriter, you know the limits of your skills, especially since your voice ends up being such a big part of it. It can be such a relief to write for somebody else. And then it's fun to have somebody else guess what your skills are.
Yeah,
right.
So it's one of the favorite experiences of my limited musical background is to do a project like that. I know the singer-songwriters are going to love it, and I know especially people who have been doing it a long time will like it. I'd be amused to write for Múkisson, personally.
Yeah. And it's such a big part of a songwriter's voice, a singer-songwriter's voice, especially the way they play guitar or play piano. Think of an Elton John song where there's no piano part, or a Bob Dylan tune that doesn't have any sort of guitar plucking or whatever, and that's also an interesting thing. Like, how much of the writing are you removing by putting it into a band context? Or Elín Hall decides to play the Kauká tune rudimentarily on piano or something. I don't know.
Yeah, Kauká is a fascinating individual. I feel like he hasn't been explained to the international audience quite the same way. His prominence here might not might
Yeah,
take some explaining to an international audience.
It's true.
He's kind of a statesman of a certain kind of music here. And
Yeah. I think he basically brought the sort of American singer-songwriter thing here.
Yeah.
Bluesy, country.
Raspy.
Yeah.
But he's got a distinctly California vibe to it.
Yeah, he grew up in California.
Okay, yeah.
That explains a lot.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's really, and he's, as you said, he's a very precise attack on the guitar. That's really different from other people. I think it's interesting to, it'll be nice to see each of these individuals go through. We've covered the singer-songwriters, and now you mentioned briefly the hip-hop artist with one of our favorite bands. Can we go on to that? The
Flóni and Supersport.
Yeah,
That's also another great piece of, like, what I would say innovative curation. Please give us the background on that one.
Well, I think that like we're trying to convey, we really want the festival to be like a platform for cross-genre collaborations and bringing people together, and in a way we're doing that with Supersport and Flóni because we're placing that with the composers carousel that starts out the evening. So you have like
classical one.
That's the only very music. Then you have a break, and then you have Supersport and Flóni, and that's what we really want to accomplish, is this sort of breeding ground for a confluence of influences. But I think the origin of Supersport and Flóni is that last year the festival hosted an amazing concert with Bríet and ADHD, the jazz quartet.
Yeah.
And that was an amazing collaboration in every way. They were doing different arrangements of her songs, and she wrote lyrics for one of ADHD's songs and participated in their songs, and it was all kind of it was boiled together into an amazing soup. And we really wanted to have some sort of a similar event that kind of ticked into the pop box and being a collaboration that people wouldn't expect. And I have great relations with a lot of the hip-hop scene. I've worked with a lot of the Icelandic rappers and stuff, and Flóni is a good friend of mine, so I wanted to find some sort of some way to incorporate hip-hop into the festival. And I love Supersport and love their indie rock vibe, and I love Bjarni Daniel. He's one of my favorite songwriters here in Iceland, actually. We went to high school together. Actually, me, Flóni, and Bjarni Daniel all went to the same high school, Versló, believe it or not.
Oh, nice.
But so I just figured that it would be very interesting to kind of match Flóni's auto-tuned, crooning, trappy stuff with guitar, indie sort of vibe. We have no idea what's going to happen, but I'm super excited about it because for me personally, I can hear, I can envision, Supersport doing an amazing take on Falskar Ástir or Leika by Flóni, doing something out of the ordinary with these tunes. And it's really also pushing Flóni, out of his comfort zone, doing something without the backing tracks. And
I would imagine.
Yeah.
You mentioned working with the hip-hop community here. I think people outside of Iceland might be surprised at how powerful the hip-hop community is. And I mean, I know my son really focuses mostly on hip-hop and Icelandic hip-hop here. Like, that's his main entry into Icelandic music is, and especially at the Hagaskóli, like that level of the 13 to 16-year-olds?
Yeah.
They just had a ball of dance, and it was nothing but Icelandic hip-hop, pretty much. That's all they were into. So that would, I imagine, for my son, he would be coming for Flóni and then being exposed to some what he'd be surprised to discover that there's bands.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's the idea. And then there's also the Supersport fans who think, Flóni's music is shite, but it's actually not. There's a lot of great songwriting there. And I think...
there is.
Yeah. So I think, our hope is for just people to open their eyes to all kinds of music and also the contemporary classical stuff. And, a lot of people would never, ever go into that kind of concert, but it actually can be really a magical experience to sit there. And it's more maybe kind of a meditation you're listening to textures and sounds that you're not used to, but I think it can really change your perspective on music in general.
We also try to present that in an unconventional way, even though it's going to be an Iðnó. We position the performers in different corners of the room, at least so, you know, you're listening to a flute piece and you're standing and looking into the left corner, and then that finishes and the sound starts coming from the back of the hall. Oh yeah, the Hammond organ piece is next, and then you move there, you know. And
this is fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sorry.
great.
As a fan of music, I just love this idea of the changing the way the audience interacts.
I just, you know, I hope there's a question at the end of this observation. So I kind of noticed that the symphony, the Icelandic symphony, who reside in Harpa now, have been trying all sorts of different things to kind of break this barrier you guys are talking about. They've been performing the scores of old movies, or rather recent movies like Star Wars or whatever, or the old Chaplin movies, and, you know, try to bring people into to sort of a symphony thing with that in the background or maybe in the forefront. And I think it was last year during Culture Night or something, they had two podcasters sort of explain the symphony orchestra, Fílalag, Bergur and Snorri, both musicians too.
Yeah.
As a way to trying to bring people into the building. Your attempt is kind of like, instead of bringing people into Harpan for the classical music, is to like bring the classical music outside of Harpan. Is this in any way connected to the same sort of, maybe, I don't know, not a frustration, but sort of this want to like make this more accessible?
Sure, I think there's similar thinking there. I think our approach is a bit different. Their approach is more, you know, okay, we do Harry Potter, we get people to come in and see that. We are more interested in bringing people in for something else, and then they have the surprise of something new that they would, you know, it's like they would have a Harry Potter and then they would have a break and then they would do a Beethoven symphony, you know, or something which, I mean, nobody knows which approach is better, but we're doing this way. And
I would almost describe this as like it's like a classical music trap.
Yes, exactly. And I think, I mean, obviously, we work in music, and it's to our benefit that, you know, we get the people who show up at classical concerts, especially. You know, we get the average age a bit younger than it actually is, because it's just been raising by 1 year every year for the last 40 years or so. So by now, everybody's either passed away or has very thin gray hair. You know, so you know, we're just trying to see if we can help that a little bit.
Yeah, and we really celebrate, of course, everything that the symphony does in order to attract. I'm not. And like Bergur says, it's just two different approaches, and we're trying to do the same thing, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was not framing this as a put down on the symphony. I was just
of course.
I was just wondering if it kind of stems from the same, not necessarily frustration, but this willingness to bring this type of music to a broader audience. And in your case, kind of, instead of like luring them in based on pop culture, you're just trying to lure them in based on something they would see, and then springing something else on them too.
Yeah,
which is kind of profoundly interesting to me too, because that way you actually expose them to something that they wouldn't go out of the way to check out.
For sure. I mean, and then another approach we're also taking is we have this concert with a classical string trio called Trio Sol, where they're playing mostly new Icelandic music, but they are doing, the concert is happening in the
Air Rescue
garage. So we are, I mean, we hope people will flick on the switch and realize how cool that is, because there's all these incredible machinery and stuff in there, and it's just a great environment to go to a concert, no matter what the music is. And so we're hoping that people will actually just show up for
the vibe.
Yeah, for the vibe, and then, you know, realizing the music's actually great, you know.
That is where, that's by Öskjuhlíð, right? Yeah. That's the old army barracks thing, exactly. out there.
Yeah.
Cool, never been in there.
Yeah, everything, each event sounds equally exciting, or as exciting as it can get, I guess. What we're the way you've been speaking is for an Icelandic audience. And bringing in, I guess, people like my son, music fans of one genre, and who maybe are intimidated by others, or just in general the Icelandic audience. But I think what I was so excited by is, as a music fan in general, I feel this has international appeal. And I wonder what you think about, and I know you're probably exhausted because every one of these events would take me 3 years to even think about. So what happens next year? Like, as people maybe watching this are planning, saying, okay, this is October, and restate the date again, it's going to be October
7 to 12.
October 7th through 12th. I can't get flights out this year, but if I'm going to one music festival in the world, this is clearly what I want to do. I want to have my perspective changed, and I want to see, essentially, I mean, you're talking about Brit, you're talking about people who are the best in the world, in a way, or at least at the top of the game, and they're courageous enough to take these huge chances. So if they're trying to schedule this next year, how does that work with your planning? Like, are you ready to expand it to international audiences?
Yeah, I think for sure. I think for sure international audiences would enjoy this year's program. We are importing 2 different international artists this year, Hanja Rani and Trio Holistic, which is a great European jazz trio. And Hanja Rani is this Polish piano superstar. And I think, next year we are going to, I don't know if we're necessarily going to import more artists, but we're going to keep doing that. But I mean, a part of the magic for us is the sort of collaboration with local artists.
Yeah.
And I think, obviously like your audience and international audience that likes Icelandic music, for them, this is a great platform just to, discover stuff, because we are putting on the table stuff that, I mean, it's maybe not even, it never happens again or has never happened before, but also maybe isn't publicly available on the internet or, whatnot. So
we'll do our best to cover it and try to tell people what's going on. But again, every concept takes more pages than our magazine can hold.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say definitely next year we will do something amazing, and we're already planning some things that are very exciting for next year. I'm pretty sure it will be it'll take place at the same time, second week of October 2026.
Yes, that's what I wanted.
So people, foreigners can, if they're lucky, come see beautiful autumn weather and maybe northern lights at this time of year, and check out some cool Icelandic and international music that will be presented in an unconventional context.
It's sounds like a great reason to come here, actually.
Yeah, you're speaking so casually about something that took so much effort, and I just appreciate it, because I think this is going to be, well, this is just why we're covering culture, when people can put their energy.
Yeah, with all due respect for other projects this year, I can't think of anything this exciting, for me at least.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And I look forward to it. I look forward to going there.
Maybe must say as well that if people are on a shoestring budget but want to see at least one thing, there is a free event that we're hosting with Garðheimar.
Well, thank you. Yes, let's go on with that.
On Saturday, we're doing Plantasia live in Garðheimar. I don't know if you've ever heard of that record, but that's like a cult synthesizer album made in the 70s.
Yeah, on a Moog, right?
Yes, on like an early modular synthesizer, and the music was created for your plants. So you were supposed to play this music for your plants, and that was supposed to stimulate their growth. This was at the time when those sorts of ideas were very
avant-garde.
Yeah, no, they were like pretty mainstream, but there was a book that was written at the time called The Secret Life of Plants, and Stevie Wonder made that concert album about that thing. And this guy made this record Plantasia, and then he gave away copies for every sold house plant at a store. You got a copy of Plantasia, and for every Sears, every like particular mattress sold at Sears, you got a copy of Plantasia too. It was really strange. So like, it didn't make an impact until way later. It like gained cultural significance 10, 20, 30 years on. And then I think around 10, 15 years ago, it was made available online again and reprinted in that kind of reinvigorated this cultural interest. It's this very cute early synthesizer, cutesy synth music that we're going to be performing in Garðheimar, which is this big plant department store. So it'll be surrounded by greenery and plants and stuff. And we'll see if brilliant the growth spurs by our performance.
Yeah.
And that's free.
One thing that amuses. So that's excellent. And what date is that again? Sorry,
Saturday
11th.
Yeah,
Saturday, October 11th
at 12.
At 12
lunchtime.
One thing that amuses me about life in Iceland, as somebody not raised here, is how many times a discussion with an Icelandic musician or writer will bring me back to something I overlooked in America or living in England. That's just a common refrain, right? I mean, hey, did you know how important Sears is for music? No, I did not know that Sears, the crappy department store I try to get past every day of my life, is actually important. And this is just like every day in Iceland I get something like this.
Yeah, I've never heard those two things discussed at once.
Sears is also
Music
important to the
history.
History of musical instruments, right? It's
For sure.
Yeah.
shockingly important, even though nobody in America knows this.
Well, isn't Sears the place you could buy a house and get it mail ordered?
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, the Sears cross.
I think that's about the width of my Wikipedia knowledge about Sears.
Well, I am. Thank you so much. Again, we did this on a Sunday. We rushed you out of your home to try to get this out because we know the limitations of print, and so that's why we're kind of subsidized to promote extremely important cultural moments. And I think this is one that is important now, and I believe it'll be one of these connection points for people interested in music and culture and Iceland to make that bond that, for me, resulted in a 25-year experience, I guess. And yeah.
Yeah, I would just like to thank both of you for dropping in.
Well,
And
Thanks.
it's been a delightful discussion, and the festival sounds fucking amazing. Sorry, excuse my language.
No.
Okay, I'll do it again.
Okay.
The festival sounds amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
No, it sounds great, terrific, and look forward to it. That was it, I guess.
Yeah, thank you.
I think I already exited verbally. Thank you.